to the Living with Narcissist podcast, where the first recommendation is don't. But unfortunately, that's not always possible. So this is your haven for validation, insight, strategies, and resources. So let's get started. Welcome, I'm Carrie, and this is the Living with Narcissist podcast. Today's episode will continue to focus on the concept of codependence and the dynamics of a codependent relationship. As explained in the previous episode, codependence is not a clinical diagnosis or a personality disorder. Codependence is a dysfunctional relationship dynamic where one person assumes the role of giver, sacrificing their own needs and well-being for the sake of the other, the taker. As we spoke about in Season 3, Episode 3, Robert Sapolsky explains in his book Behave that there are three components to the development of personality: biology, life experiences, and conditioning. Codependency is a learned behavior that is developed from conditioning throughout childhood. It is passed down from one generation to the next generation, and can also occur alongside other addictions and behavioral problems. It's the way the codependent has learned to react, the way the codependent has been conditioned in early childhood to react to specific relational situations. Passed down from one generation to the next, the codependent repeats the learned pattern of reactions to the presence of the intimate partner. This is what Freud refers to as repetition compulsion. So let's take a closer look at the codependent relational dynamic. Both the taker, the narcissist, and the giver, generally referred to as the codependent or victim, are both codependent. Yes, you heard me correctly. They are both codependent, because they both need other people to help them regulate their internal environment, what is sometimes referred to as external validation. The main role of the codependent intimate partner is to regulate their partner's emotions and moods, to help the partner calm down after emotional dysregulation, and to reconcile the dialogue of the inner critic. Peter Walker talks about the inner critic in his book, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, a self-help guide to recovering from the lingering effects of childhood trauma. I spoke about this book in Season 3, Episode 6, and of course you can refer to that episode if you would like to learn more about the inner critic. So the abuser and the victim are each other's instruments. They use each other. They manipulate each other in order to stabilize the inner landscape of their thoughts and emotions. The victim needs the abuser to feel that they are in a world that is predictable, and that the victim can manipulate the environment in order to secure favorable outcomes. This can be a hard reality to accept. I remember very clearly after my husband had his breakdown and was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, my children said to me, "You are controlling too. You need to go to therapy too." I got a therapist, and once I figured out that I was codependent, I knew they were right. I thought my need to control the environment was okay, because I was looking for favorable outcomes for all. So how could that be bad? It's destructive because it's controlling, and it ignores the agency of other individuals to act with their own autonomy. Now make no mistake, abusers are not victims, and victims are not abusers. They are very clearly distinguishable, but the two, abuser and victim, regulate each other in a way like an organism with two heads. The abusive narcissistic taker merges with the codependent giver, a complete engulfment as if they are one organism that allows each other access to their partner's mind. So the victim regulates the abuser, and the abuser regulates the victim. Now, if the intimate partner is narcissistic, malicious, malevolent, psychopathic, or heaven forbid, sadistic, they are going to abuse this privileged access to the codependent's mind. And let me be clear, you don't have to be codependent to end up with an abuser. The difference is that healthy people leave the abuser. Codependent people stay because they believe that they can get the narcissist to see the light, the error of their ways, and change their behavior. This is where the behavior of the codependent victim is controlling. Because codependents believe they need to matter to someone, they put too much focus on the abuser. Due to their inability to set boundaries, they keep going back to an empty well for water with the empty hope that one day there will be water in the well. Now, of course, the victim and the abuser have different psychological needs. They have different levels of aggression, different levels of impulse control, different levels of defiance, and different levels of empathy. Most victims have much more empathy than their abusers, which is not surprising because narcissistic people have impaired empathy. The codependent feels they need their intimate partner and cling very tightly because without the partner, they cannot regulate their sense of self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence. Their abandonment anxiety is out of control, like a person with borderline personality disorder. On the other hand, the narcissist needs people to regulate their internal environment. Otherwise, he cannot regulate his sense of self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, and the narcissist's abandonment anxiety is out of control, just like the codependent's. So how and why does the abuser and the victim become a couple? In the book The Human Magnet Syndrome, The Codependent Narcissist Trap, written by Rosenberg, psychotherapist and author, he explains how couples are magnetically drawn to each other and why they stay together despite the volatility, the abuse, the lack of empathy, and the lack of relationship satisfaction. In the next episode, we will look deeper into the thought patterns of the codependent giver and how they have developed, as well as how it impacts their choice in an intimate partner. If you like my content, please choose to follow, subscribe, or provide a rating so I can share this information with more people and you don't miss out on future episodes. If you would like to support the podcast with a small monthly donation, you can do that through the listener support link in the show notes. If you'd like to send me comments or questions, you can do that through the comments link on the Spotify app. I hope to hear from you. Thank you for joining me. I hope this information is helpful. I look forward to sharing more in the future. Have a wonderfully peaceful day. Until next time.